Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. I'm Paul Jasson, your host. Thank you for joining us as we tape here in the lobby of Fairfield Federal downtown. We appreciate them every week allowing us to come in and chat with our guests as we wrap up another year, begin another year. We're right on that cusp where things are ending and starting into a new year. And one of the groups, I don't think we got to talk to them at all in 2020. This year, because, well, we were gone for about 3 months there. We didn't get to talk to anybody. But in fact, I think we had them scheduled right before we were had to leave and not able to do any more programs. Would that be, I think we had you scheduled. Yeah, it was supposed to be March. And I think you were the program we canceled out because we couldn't do it because of the pandemic. We started there. With me is Andrea Spires and Colin Hietikko. They are members of the Young Professionals of Lancaster. And that is, I don't know what officially the title would be, perhaps a subgroup, but they answer to the Chamber of Commerce. That's where it kind of came from. Yes. And you both are, I guess, members of that group, Young Professionals of Lancaster. You're on what they call a steering committee. Yep. Andrea Spires, Colin Hietikko. Tell us what a steering committee does, Andrea.
So it's more of a low-key type of board. Okay. So we don't have to have all the rules and all of the motions that have to go in place to get things accomplished as a board would have. So we are able to just kind of make decisions and go with it. It's a little bit easier.
And how long have you been?
About 5 years.
5 years, okay. Yeah. We were talking before we went on. I kind of remember this maybe a decade, maybe 10 years ago. This kind of got started. It's kind of a loose-based organization. We'll be talking about that. But Colin, how long have you been in?
So I've been in about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And their real jobs, as you might guess, Andrea, United Way. You might guess that. That's a key.
Yeah.
We don't have anything for destination downtown.
I'm just kind of plain today.
But we want to mention Colin too, and Andrea was nice enough because I asked Andrea to be on and talk about this, and she suggested bringing Colin. Colin recently at the, I don't even know when the chamber outing was now. Was it in November?
Oh, yes. It was in November.
It changed so many times. We're not sure. It moved so many times. But they have so many great award winners, and Travis Markwood, the director there, does such a great job. But one of the awards was, and I don't know if this is the first one for the Young Professionals of Lancaster, but Colin was the recipient of that award. And
that's right.
And I don't know anybody that doesn't know you that say, what a great job you do. And again, Andrea is with United Way. Colin is with Destination Downtown and the large staff that they have. Are you the staff down there?
Yes, yeah. We have 2.5.
Two and a half people.
Yeah.
And you're 1.5 of them.
I guess so.
That's amazing. Colin Hietikko, and so you were the recipient of that award. Gosh, that was pretty neat.
It was very neat. I'm not sure how long the award has been going on, but I was very surprised and honored just to be recognized for the work that I do. I love this community so much, so it's such an honor to serve the community and just to have that recognition this year.
Well, you both are Lancaster High School graduates. Andrea Spires, Colin Hietikko, you both are Lancaster people. And looking and doing some research about your group, one thing that I saw that kind of popped out to me was its love of the community and doing things in the community that, and I'm sure all the people you have in the group, I see other communities, other towns where people live and work, but it's to kind of develop this civic pride in whatever community in this case it's Lancaster. Yes. So I think that's one of the things I think you try to get across to the members of your club is that's a real part of growth in the community is working to do things in the community.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely have tried more and more to give back. This past few years we've done different diaper drives, toy drives, different things to give back because we know we love it here. We want to make sure it thrives here. We want to make sure people are taken care of here.
And you talked about that, Colin. And again, your real job is to do this 24/7. I mean, Destination Downtown does such a great job of promoting Lancaster and to all parts of the community. But I guess this group is kind of right in your wheelhouse. I mean, this is what you enjoy doing, talking about Lancaster.
Absolutely. I mean, I love talking about Lancaster. It's interesting. Andrea and I, we both are working in that nonprofit world. And so it's just great to kind of come together, and it's neat to see how this organization has kind of evolved. I think 10 years ago it was more of a social group, and now we have different structures, and we're kind of meeting some goals and doing or providing lunch and learns and power breakfast for the young professionals to learn more, but also giving back to our community.
Is one of the things you do then, I was looking at some old things, I saw the name of Catherine Cheek, who was a business owner and somebody in this community that has been a recipient herself in the chamber organization. But is that something you do, try to get people to come in and talk to your group and in your loosely formed group here, your band of rebels that you have here as young professionals, get somebody in like her or somebody that's entrenched in the community and just learn from them, networking?
Yeah, so definitely a lot of networking is really important, just because as young people you don't always know who it is in your community that is doing great things. So we want to learn from them and maybe become mentees of those people that are making a difference here in Fairfield County. So we do have them speak at our events. So we, like Colin had said, we do power breakfast. So we usually do 4 of those a year, once every quarter. We haven't had one for a little while, but hopefully maybe 2021 we'll be able to have them again. And then we also have lunch and learns. So at the power breakfast, those are more like, just tell us about your story. How did you get to where you are today? We've had Carrie Woody, we've had Catherine Cheek, we've had Michelle Ritchlin, lots of different people speak about how they got to where they are today.
And those are people at one time who were pretty much in your position. Maybe they started, I remember Catherine Cheek, when she started her job, they were just brand new, kind of made their way in the world, her and her husband Jack, and how they got that business going. Michelle Ritchlin started out with the West After School, now another job. We'll have her on too, the show we're going to have her on. But I guess that's a big part of talking to your group, is getting them to see that this is where they could be someday if they stay at this.
Exactly. I think it's really important to hear from some seasoned professionals. I don't want to call them old. But you know what I'm saying. I think it's important to hear from them, let them mentor us, learn about their story, and kind of be inspired to know that we can make it to where they're going or what they've done.
Sure.
So.
I'm with Andrea Spires and Colin Hietikko from the Young Professionals of Lancaster, and I know you try to get things going. Again, you're kind of a loosely based organization, so I imagine at times it's hard to pull people together to everybody focus on one thing, since you don't really have a board, you don't really have regular meetings, you don't meet all the time. But one of the things you had recently was a toy drive that benefited Maywood Mission.
Yeah, so we've been doing this for quite a few years. Typically at one of our power breakfasts we have everyone who attends bring a toy. So we get a lot of toys that way. This year we weren't able to do that, so we did an Amazon registry, so people could just order online and it would send it directly to Maywood Mission, trying to make it simple and easy for them. And we always, the past few years, have partnered with Reflections, the assisted living home here in Lancaster, and they did a wonderful job. 3 carloads of toys that they were able to collect for us, and they also donated about $700 to Maywood Mission. So I think that made a huge difference, especially this year. There's a lot of people in need, a lot of kids that have maybe a different Christmas this year. So we're really excited that we were still able to do that even during a pandemic.
Colin, you talked about that before. You both, your day jobs are in the nonprofit world, United Way, Destination Downtown. You see that, and I think that's probably a big part of getting your folks who maybe are in the profit world, that have regular corporate jobs that may be entry level or maybe a little more than that as they're young professionals, indicating to them that doing things like this are important in a community like Lancaster.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like Andrea said, I think this is probably the greatest year that, Reflections really came out, and it's awesome to get together with other young professionals and just do what feels good for our community.
And I'm sure that's something you try to tell these new people, is this is part of what you have to do to kind of get going, because there are tons of people, we have them on the show, that have big, powerful jobs. They are presidents, they are CEOs of their company, but at one time, they did what you're doing, and even now they understand how important it is to give back to the community.
Yeah, I mean, when you give back, you make these genuine connections. People are, you're making a relationship that it's going to be a lifelong relationship, which is really what it's all about.
When the pandemic hit, and here we are early, almost a year ago now, getting 9 months or so like that, did it make a big difference in your group? You're kind of loosely structured anyway. Did you have to cut some things back, or was it just everybody's now meeting on Zoom?
Yeah, well, we did meet on Zoom, and we kind of went to that platform, but you're exactly right. Things looked a lot different. And because we are so loose, we were able to kind of scale things back. But we had great plans this year. I mean, and we're already talking about next year, though. So that's a big part. I think the steering committee, we're going to get together in January and kind of plan out what 2021 looks like.
Now, do you kind of answer to Travis Markwood and the board periodically? Do you have responsibilities to them?
So Julia Taylor, who works there for the change, is also a part of our steering committee, so she's able to kind of update them.
She's your liaison and keeps it going.
Yeah, so it works out really nicely.
So now, as Colin indicated, you're moving into 21. You're kind of fomenting some ideas for the new year, getting things going?
Yes, we're working on it. So we were able to have two after-hour events during the pandemic, because we were able to be outside, and we limited it to 10 people.
During the warmer weather?
Yeah, during the warmer weather.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the colder weather, it's more difficult to do that. But I'm assuming we're going to be able to try to do that again once it starts to warm up in the spring. And maybe have a Zoom meeting, like a lunch and learn. I think during morning time, it's probably a little more difficult to get people to wake up and want to get on Zoom at 7:30 in the morning, but hopefully have someone come on and speak about a topic and just get people more engaged and get excited about things again, because we know with the vaccine and things getting better that hopefully we'll be able to look forward to getting back in person again.
And Colin, in your regular job, Destination Downtown, things moving forward into 2021?
Yes, absolutely. Downtown is doing well. We're hustling, and we want people to support the local businesses. So we're just moving forward, staying positive.
Sure. Well, again, two young people from Young Professionals of Lancaster, Andrea Spires and Colin Hietikko. Again, Andrea with United Way, Colin with Destination Downtown. But again, good young people who see the value in giving back to the community and working in the nonprofit world like this. I think it's a great place to start. Maybe it's a great place to finish. I'm not saying you won't be there forever, but thanks for what your group does for the community. I think you're a very positive influence on a lot of people, so we think that's great. So we'll get you back next year. We'll talk about it, and we'll hope 2021 upward and onward, and
that's
like
right.
You say, maybe bigger and stronger.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Colin Hietikko and Andrea Spires with us today. Fortunate to have young people like this in Lancaster to talk about what they do in this community. Young Professionals of Lancaster. We'll be back in just a moment.
Fairfield Medical goes the extra mile to give attention to their patients, to their guests, anybody that comes within those doors.
There's no question that the staff there are all personally invested in seeing that I got the best care possible.
The staff was so comforting. I felt like she was in the best hands.
They basically gave me a second chance at life, and I'm going to make the most of it.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area, where the fountain is, and the memorials, and the flags, and all this stuff. And we looked around, and I said, there's our bank, right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here. They're conversant. Customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Fairfield Today, and again, thanks to all the good folks here at Fairfield Federal who had certainly an unusual year. As we wrap it up, the lobby is closed here in where we are at the bank with the tightening down of kind of COVID-19 things. Again, they've been celebrating this Quasquicentennial. As you've seen the commercials, we've run them, and it's just been a very difficult year to do some of the big 125-year events that they had planned. They were able to get some in, many were not. So I think as we move into 2021, they'll be here at Fairfield Federal looking at kind of extending that and doing some more things. You know, what a great partner for the community. Good folks here at Fairfield Federal. As we turn to our guest, you may recognize her by her face. It's Michelle Ritchlin, who for many years we would have on originally as the West Afterschool program, which was very close to my heart. The beginnings of that were, I was kind of involved in that. It was on the board early on. Then it became the after-school program as it, under her leadership, just grew exponentially, became quite the deal here in town. And now she's moved on from that to a different job, still resourced and working with after-school programs. First of all, Michelle Ritchlin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
Pleasure
me.
to have you back in Little Lancaster. You come down from the big city of Columbus, gotten off your pedestal to come down for Little Lancaster down here.
Anything for you, Paul.
Thank you very much. Again, we would have you on a couple times a year, and you were such a good proponent of after-school programs, and again, something that was so needed in this community. And it started on the West Side, which anything that begins on the works on the West Side, I'm all about that, being a West Side kid. So, but now you've taken on new challenges. You've moved onward and upward. You're in Columbus now, and I don't want to blow the name of it. It is the Ohio Afterschool Network.
Correct.
Big title, big job. You're the executive director of that.
I am.
What is that network?
Yeah, so the Ohio Afterschool Network is more of a support for all the after-school programs in Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a membership-based organization as well. It's a nonprofit as well.
Mm-hmm.
We survive on grants. It's
Sure.
very similar, a lot of similarities. But instead of having just my community lens, which I adore and miss greatly, it's a state lens for after school. So I'm speaking to programs not just in Lancaster or Athens, but in Canton and Cleveland, and seeing what are their needs. Seeing the difference between the rural and suburban communities and the communities that are in inner city as well. And so seeing what all their needs are and trying to bring them together and say, hey, what is it that after school needs, or are there roadblocks in state policies and things like that, and what can we do to improve funding for after school programs? There's only one federal stream of funding for after school programs. That's 21st Century Funds. It's federal money that comes down through this, filtered by the state, by the Ohio Department of Education, which is how the after school programs of Lancaster got their start. Well, other than after all the volunteers, wonderful volunteers we had, that's how we were able to grow.
Sure.
By those funds, and that's all there really is. And so that's our job, is to say, hey, how can we get policy to the state, and maybe put a line item in the state budget to support after school programming. So
now, do I understand there are 50 of you in the country,
Correct.
One in each state?
Yes, that is correct.
So,
yes.
And so they work partner, and again, you don't oversee the after school programs, you work with them. So when you were here as the head of the after school program here in Lancaster, you worked with whoever you were up there at that time and learned about all this and learned, I guess, what was available to the after school programs.
That's exactly right. Actually, the lady before me was also a lady from Lancaster. Her name was Nichelle Harris. She was the director before me, and she had her roots. She went to graduate from Lancaster High School, and she's the one that reached out to me and said, I think this could be a really good position for you.
Now, she retired?
No, she just moved on to the YWCA.
Okay.
She's working for the YWCA now, because I think a lot of people that get into this position, because like you said, there is only one of us in each state, so it's a little isolating on top of all the pandemic restrictions as well. She missed being in programming, I think. But it's a wonderful job, and you get to meet a lot of really wonderful people who have similar goals and interests as you do. Like we work with Children's Hunger Alliance, for example. They feed hungry kids, and so they do that a lot through after-school programs. So you find a lot of organizations that our interests intersect, and so you try to partner with them, and get these meetings with state legislators, and so that's kind of the way that this position works. It's just me and one part-time lady who runs my social media and all the technological pieces. That's not my strong suit.
I think your strong suit is doing what we're doing here, talking about what you do.
Thank you.
It was certainly the case down here with the after-school programs. So now, as you've moved into this position, you look back at now another young lady that has your job here in Lancaster, and all these people that do these after-school programs. Is it an eye-opening experience to be where you are, to look at what all these other people are doing?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. I was so engaged in this community, and my job was to fight for my kids and get funds to my kids and my families just in Lancaster. That was my job, and I did that with a lot of vigor, I think, and now you had to take a step back and say, hey, you are not tied to just this community anymore. Although I do reference it quite often because it's what I know still. I've only been in the job since October, so only a couple months. So, but yeah, like learning that some after-school programs up in Cleveland are part of the city budget. So I didn't know that.
Funded differently.
Correct, absolutely. There's learning about all the different funding streams and strategies that organizations do to provide this very necessary safe time from 3 to 6, for students. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty creative when you see how many different structures there are in place. The people that say, this is a need, like you came together. How our West After School Center is so unique on the way they came together. Just the community said, hey, we need this. Let's make it happen. And you did. That's phenomenal. I have honestly not seen that again replicated anywhere else. It's a great story, and it's very near and dear to my heart.
Well, then when you look at how long has your position, not you, you've been there, less than a year?
This just October.
Oh, it's
2
just
months.
October.
Yeah.
So the pandemic kind of still going on when you moved in up there, and it's certainly, are you Zoom meetinged out?
Oh my gosh, I average probably 4 or 5 Zoom meetings a day. A day. It's soul crushing, quite honestly.
We'll keep you in our prayers.
Thank you.
It's very difficult.
It's really difficult.
How many after-school programs do you work with in the state of Ohio?
Gosh, that's a great question. So I'll tell you, we have about 1,300 members in our organization.
Really?
Yeah. There's more after-school programs than that, and of course our goal is to get them all involved in this because it is a support for them.
Some are not?
Correct. Yeah, you don't have to be a member. You can be a free member. You can be a paid member.
But why wouldn't you want to be a member? I'm sure that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
We have opportunities here. We can help you.
Right. I think part of it is people just maybe don't know that. So our organization's only been around for about 18 years, so it's fairly new. So I think a part of it is people just aren't aware and don't know.
And when you were here in Lancaster, you obviously utilize these services a great deal.
Yep, very much so. When I first started working under Paul Young, he asked all of us to go to these meetings, and he was absolutely right. Not just him, but also all the like site directors who maybe it was a networking time. It was time to learn about how big this can be, and that we do have power in numbers. So yeah, we started that. Paul Young had us going to those meetings, when I started 12 years ago. So
well, he would be the perfect guy for that, to understand the bigger picture of all that. Michelle Ritchlin is our guest today, and she is the Executive Director of the Ohio Afterschool Network. And now as you kind of hover above all these other after-school programs, like the after-school program in Lancaster, are you seeing that these programs, like the one in Lancaster that you kind of deal with all over the state, are having great success, are very needed, more needed during the pandemic?
Absolutely. So interestingly, there's a national organization that supports also after-school programs, and they're called the Afterschool Alliance. And they just recently came out with a study just last week about the increase of need for after-school programming in the nation, and they also did one for just Ohio specifically. And for every one child that's in a program, 3 kids are waiting to get into an after-school program. Yes, and keep in mind they're all different. They're not, most of our programs, not all, most of our programs here in Lancaster are free. Or kids that could be recommended based on grades and things like that. But that's not the case with all after-school programs. So there's a charge for a lot of them. So affordability is a roadblock for some of our.
That's too bad. Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, as you look at how things will run here in Lancaster with the after-school programs, would you still say that's a good model for others to look at?
The best. I'm biased, I know, but it's absolutely wonderful because you have that community buy-in, you have that community support, and that's irreplaceable. It really, truly is. When you've got people, caring adults, and like the people you had on before, those young, civic-minded people, like how do you instill that again and make people understand that this is your responsibility? You don't get to be on this earth for free. There's rent here, and your job is to give back to your community to the degree that you can. And volunteering, working with these kids and trying to make their lives better is just, it's an easy way.
And we just had Colin and Andrea on with the Young Professionals, of which you were a member at some point in your young career here. And I heard Andrea talking to you. She loved doing the tutoring here. I mean, this is that payback time, pay forward time.
Absolutely.
That they're trying to, and that you can see how important that is.
The most impactful thing that I have ever seen programs do for these kids is the mentorship piece.
Yes.
They have to know that there's a caring adult out there. They don't all have that, and
say that's not always at home.
Absolutely
they don't
not.
see that every day like many of us have.
I know we take it for granted. I certainly did. Working in this job opened my eyes to that need, and you're like, wow, it's incredible. And a lot of kids don't have a caring adult that believes in them, and sometimes that's all they might need.
So your job here, you might have driven around Lancaster to all the schools and dealt with that. Now you go, it's probably more of a Zoom thing right now, but you're from Cleveland to Cincinnati to Akron to Marietta. I mean, all that's you.
Absolutely. So that's a big, I can't wait to get out and do that, soon. So I did have an opportunity to go to 2 different events. One, I visited Dayton and I visited Lima. So I have been able to do that.
Big programs, I would gather.
Yes, very much so.
Sure.
Yeah, very much so. So that was great to go out and actually see them. It's one thing to learn, over Zoom what somebody does. It's something else to go into a center and see that work being done. And I'm terribly excited for that to occur. I can't wait to go out and really see and feel and really get into the program, saying, I see where your roadblocks are, I understand, so I can better advocate for them at the state level for.
Got about a minute left. Do you see the need for more after-school programs in the state than there are?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Without a question. We've tried to do really well with the transition to being online, and that's been okay. We're reaching out to our families. There's someone in touch. But you get down in Athens County, and it doesn't matter if people get they give them free hotspots. Well, there's still no service down there, so we're still missing a lot of kids. So getting back in person will be huge for these kids. But it's been wonderful.
Executive Director of the Ohio Afterschool Network, Michelle Ritchlin. Gosh, it's good to see you. We miss you in this community. I hope you miss us. And again, seeing young people like we're on here before kind of makes you know that it's still going on, that people still care about it. And we wish you the best in your new program. You're going to do great up there, just a couple of months into it. And again, we'll be talking after school program of Lancaster. We still like to call it the West After School program because that was its roots, out of the 6th Avenue United Methodist Church into your beautiful building over there now, which I think just has after school. On there.
Correct.
Because
since we don't have the school there to have the kids. Now we've
Well, good luck in your position. You're going to do great there, and we look to hear good things about the Ohio Afterschool Network. Michelle Ritchlin back with us today, so we thank her for joining us. And so that's our program here as we wrap it up. Thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.